Welcome to Bedford County Sports Talk Live, hosted by David Thomas, Bill Anderson, and Kenny Parker. Brought to you by First Bank of Shelbyville and Kincaid Service Company at 400 Madison Street in Shelbyville. Let's talk some sports. Here are your hosts.
Hello, everybody. Welcome into Bedford County Sports Live. I'm Bill Anderson, Coach Kenny Parker, the boss man, David Thomas, behind the screen. And we have a very special guest today, the infamous legend, Coach Judd Dryden.
Infamous. I love how you always lead with that.
Coach, before we get started, I want to congratulate you on your season last year. I hadn't got the chance to talk to you, but in the preseason show, when you talked with us, I believe you were spot on with everything you said and had a great year.
I'm glad your memory's better than mine because I don't have a clue what I said last year.
It don't matter. But you were good. You were good with everything you said. I don't remember a lot of it, but I remember you're pretty accurate.
I thank you. Like I said, I need the supplement you're taking for the brain because I don't remember a thing. So
Coaches in that.
It stimulates the loss of hair, so I don't know.
Is that what it is? So
Hey, today's sponsors, as always, Kincaid
Service
Company and also First Bank right here in Shelbyville. And real quick, before we get started, we're going to come back after the word from our sponsors, and we're going to talk some Shelbyville football. We'll be right back after this quick word.
Company is a locally owned family business that has proudly served the Middle Tennessee area since 1934. We have a wide selection of furniture, appliances, electronics, and mattresses for every budget and design taste. We carry the brands that you know and trust, so you're sure to find exactly what you're looking for. Need financing? We have you covered. With our service department, you can rest assured that we will take care of you after the purchase. Visit our Shelbyville store at 400 Madison Street today.
Welcome back, everybody, and we're going to talk a little Shelbyville football. Coach, it's football season. I can feel it.
it's my favorite thing to talk about.
Get fired up.
So
time.
I mean it's all
time.
good.
It's
You
We're
got
having fun with it.
7 and 7s, and when do we get 7 and 7's been pretty good.
Yep, we've this last weekend at Lebanon, we finally had everybody, and it showed. We competed well. We went, I believe, 8-2 over the course, and of course, one of those is our JV team, beat Page's JV, which is always good. But we're through 7-on-7, and now we're finally back into real football and getting prepared for that. So it's
Inclination Week this weekend.
Yep, it's we'll be in shells coming up, helmet, shoulder pads. We'll sneak our girdles in just to make sure we don't get the thigh bruises with any guy that's falling. But
rules say you have to do 2 days of helmets.
Yep, and then
3 days of shoulder pads.
Yep, and so we'll be getting into that this week, and it'll be a fun week for us. Kids are ready for sure.
So we got the helmets out here. Listen to the radio on the way in. No more visors, is my understanding from what I heard this morning. They cut that out now because that way the referee can't see the kid's eyes in a concussion protocol deal. Was that the way you understood it?
I think it have to be clear. That was
you
the
can
rule.
have a visor, but it has to be clear. Unless
Correct.
now, I do believe there's still the prescription. If an eye doctor gives a prescription for a kid to have a tinted visor, but it can't be. I don't think it can be reflective though, like some of them have been.
And a knee pad rule they have now. That sounds like that's going to be a big deal.
It's
And according to what I heard on the radio this morning, the knee pad rule is more from the medical part of the Natural Federation, where you see it in the college and the pros. Heck, some of them just wear shorts.
Yeah.
And the way they said, the referee's been told, you don't enforce this, you're not reffing anymore.
Yeah.
That was the way I understood it.
Exactly, because they said something about the development of the knee is not fully there yet.
Yeah,
and I'm telling you, it's hard as a coach. It's hard to get those kids to put them down. Used to it was the tailbone.
Yep.
The butt pad. But now it's the knees, and they all want to be.
I'm gonna tell you, between knee pads and shirt tails, it is the most frustrating part of being a coach on a sideline, because you're constantly there, send the kid out, and then you get it taken care of. And sometimes it's nothing more than a quick tuck, but they want them out to go. It's crazy at times, and I get why the rules are there, but man, it just gets it interrupts the flow of a game so bad that we've instituted a couple of in-house rules for ours as far as knee pads go. I just sometimes it just takes some common sense. So on a kid's part and everybody else's.
Coach, the way they make these pants now, where they're so tight,
Yep.
and it's been 10 years since I coached, but I even had to buy extra long pants because you get those taller kids. But now, the pads that you wear underneath, the shimmels, they're now making them where there's 7 pockets instead of
5,
and instead of 5, so you can now buy those for your kids that go down. And my belief, what I understand is if they're wearing that, then they're okay.
Well, they would be, because it'd be a permanent fixture. But the problem you run into is they'll ride up. And
exactly.
as soon as an official sees the bottom of that kneecap, he's going to be pointing out. Now, if it's nothing more than, hey, tug it down, then it's okay. But if they start really going hardcore on it and sending guys off the field simply because it rode up a little bit, that's when it's going to get crazy. I mean, you just have to.
It's about to go all in.
Yeah. Well, you just have to. First of all, you have to assume that no official wants a kid out of a game. I mean, they've got to do what they've got to do. Right. It's a consequence of the game, and it's to protect kids, which you can't argue with. But at the same time, using some common sense is always a good thing.
Right.
So,
looking ahead to the preseason, we're going to get to some kids. Our first scrimmage, I believe, is August 2nd at Page. Is that correct?
Yes, it is.
The second scrimmage will be here. Do we know who it is yet?
It's Rockville, and it's on a Thursday.
On a Thursday.
Yep. It's we've talked to Coach Guthrie at Rockville, and I get along really well. And they've got a early Thursday game. We want to try we want to try some different things, practice week wise, because we come out with 2 games.
Yeah, on Thursday.
So we want to try some new things. So I think we're gonna go on a Thursday that week and see if we can implement a game week, practice week to kind of get prepped.
They've got they've got somebody on their team that's one of the top 4 or 5 in the state.
And it'll be good for us there. He's done a good job there taking that over, and they've steadily improved. And Page, of course, is Page. It's the way our scrimmages are set up, especially the first 2, they give us good looks at things we're going to see across the board, and they give us things that we need to improve on. So Rockville is going to be a high tempo, so we're going to have to be able to get lined up and go, and that's going to be really good for our new inside linebackers having to call the defensive fronts. It's going to be good for our defensive backfield to get lined up, in a tempo setting. Page is going to throw the ball all over the place. They're really dang good at it. They've got a couple of kids. Coach Rathbone's son is getting recruited all over the place as I believe, left tackle is where he's at now. I could be wrong on that, but I believe it's left tackle. But he so having them, and we get to face a 3-time state runner-up right out of the gate, which is a great test for us on where we're at, and will give us an idea of what we need to do to improve. So. And
then we go up to the Jamboree that's up at Warren County.
Yeah, we'll see them there. Right now, it's just us in Warren County, from what I understand. We're, we'll get up there. He was missed a few guys in the spring, so that'll. My hope there is they'll give us another look. They'll give us more of a Lawrence County style offense, maybe not exactly the same, but similar, which will give us a chance to line up against something and get some off keys that we don't normally see. So all 3 of them are set up to kind of get us ready for our season, which is what you want out of them from a training and practice perspective.
Who simulates you more of your 3 for your opener with Siegel?
That's a great question. I don't know until we get a little bit of film on Siegel. Of course, they lost a great quarterback. They lost a good receiver, and now they got some guys back.
They've got somebody that's being highly recruited also.
So we're not sure. It could be a blend of Page, Rockville, but I'm going to guess they'll be more like Rockville than they are Page.
the old days of the jamborees where you had 4 or 5 teams. You played this one a quarter, that one a quarter.
I'd love to get back to that.
That was really neat.
Yeah.
You could see
Yep.
play a quarter against a team, then come back, another
Yep.
2 teams play, then you played another team for a quarter.
Yep.
And that gave you in one night different looks. How come we've gotten away from that?
It's we went to Trousdale County 2 years in a row back. I guess it was 2021, maybe. No, yes, 2021, or maybe 21-22. Either way, we did that a little bit, and it was good. We wanted to get something at home. Tried to set up something last year, didn't work out. It's just, I don't know. It boils down to teams just wanting in and all that, and so it's tough.
We were talking before the show. Years ago, we had the Bedford County Jamboree. Have you ever tried to get with the coaches to see if we can?
Coach Grooms, from what I understand, has always gone to another Jamboree in the past and wasn't interested at the time in coming down because he liked where he was going. If I remember correctly, Jake was theirs was Webb. They were seeing Webb that last scrimmage week, so I don't know.
Well, we had all
I don't know that Webb would want to because they don't get their kids until next week. I think that's correct. Is it? I believe it's next week.
Yeah.
So that's tough on them. And then with Coach Karkiff, we had already set up our Warren County, but I mean, I don't know that he would be opposed to it. So it's just trying to get back to that. Boy, I think a countywide jamboree would be a Battle of Bedford +1 would be a pretty cool.
Even if you could bring in a couple more teams and just
have
one.
And that's the thing. We could. I think Warren County would be up for it. To talk about it. I think there's a couple there. There's
and you
probably
don't necessarily have to play each other. Just ways for. Yeah.
I agree. Let our young guys have a couple quarters of each other when it's so. However it worked out, I'm wide open for it. And with the facility improvements that we're going through right now, I think next year might be a prime time to be able to bring some guys, be centralized to us, and be able to bring some guys in to do that. So it's on the table. I'm wide open for it. It's just finding the right people and people to agree.
All right, guys, let's talk some players. Let's start at the top. Everybody out there, quarterback. Let's talk about it, Coach.
We've got we're down to 2 guys in Mason Shavers and Stephen Bobo. They both bring a completely different skill set to it. Mason has looked really good for us has played really well, looked really good for us throughout the month of June, 7-on-7, and then coming back after the dead period for a couple. Steadily improved. Of course, Stephen is a phenomenal athlete, player, competitive. Anytime you've got a nationally ranked baseball player in your program, it's gonna, you got an athlete. So
that's sophomore, correct?
Yes,
senior sophomore.
And they're both versatile. Mason can go out to wide receiver. Stephen can play in the defensive backfield and at H or even at tailback. So he can go. H being a slot receiver for us. So those two, they're battling it out, and we'll name somebody going in, and even when we name somebody, that doesn't mean that the other one won't get snapped situationally.
Could see both of them in a game.
Situationally, absolutely. So everything's on the table right now because when you've got 2 kids that can play, you want them both on the field some way or another. So it'd be irresponsible of us not to find ways to get them on the field.
Good enough. Let's go to offensive line. I know you got Ian Matusik back. You're making some changes here.
So
how's that look?
We've got Ian Matusik and Caleb Smith, both started for us last year. They'll be seniors. They've had a great summer, both of them, and both are highly intelligent. Both are all in on this season and have become significant leaders for us in that group. And then we've got young guys that it is hard to replace 3 seniors that have 60 starts between them. That's hard. And so athletically and talent wise, we're as good as we've been since I've been here for 4 years, going into my 5th. And it's just getting them in the right place to where they can be successful this year as sophomores and juniors. You've got Colton Clardy as a junior. He's been playing really well for us right now and improving daily. We have a transfer right now from Oakland and Tanner Turntine that love him. I think he's got a great motor. I love the intensity he brings. And he can play both sides of the ball for us, O-line, D-line. You got 2 sophomores, Chandler Cates and Blake Lay. You got another
Chandler's
sophomore, very much so. Maybe
Very
one of the most
strong.
naturally strong kids I've seen coming through a weight room and into a program, and they're getting athletic. Blake Lay is maybe, as a sophomore, one of the most talented sophomores just from a athletic perspective playing that, and he is a Division I scholarship waiting to happen. That kid is
Good.
already over 6'4", has a 6'8" wingspan, and it's 240 pounds.
Oh,
And
wow.
works his tail off. So
And
he
he's a
is,
sophomore.
and he runs well. He's got great feet. So those 2 are good anchors in that class. And you've got Peyton Gentry and multiple others. You got Landon Coffey, and that's been working well. And Hayes Andrews, and I'm going to miss a couple. Esteban has I always mess up his last name.
That's
Yep.
enough.
That's enough. You got it.
Esteban.
You're close enough.
So, but he has improved greatly. Josiah Berry, all those sophomores, that sophomore class of linemen is huge. It's an anomaly for Shelbyville to have an offensive line that large in a class.
Well, we
And-
got to keep them because a few years
Yes.
ago we had a very good freshman sophomore group that got recruited out from under us. So
yes,
we
and
got to keep them.
we're doing everything we can to make that happen. We've hired a new offensive line coach, and Adrian Keeley. He has done a phenomenal job of melding that unit, getting that unit together, and getting them to be their own brotherhood inside of our brotherhood. So, and he's been great.
While
So,
you're there, you don't ever see them on the field because they don't play. Talk to us a little bit about your coaching staff and how many did you keep, bring back?
Yep. Hey, it's we are incredibly blessed with the guys we have. So, guys coming back to us, J.C. Hunsaker is the assistant head coach, offensive coordinator. Trey Stewart is a co-defense coordinator and coaches DBs, and he's been working with some of the wide receivers through June while we look to replace wide receivers coach. And then Stephon Ransom is a co-coordinator for the front end for those front 7. He's moving to inside linebackers. So then Will Trice has outside linebackers. And of course, his running backs are about as good as it gets. And he might have the biggest room in the biggest film room with the running back room of anywhere I've ever been. I mean, he's got, I think he's got a solid 8 kids in that running back room. So
Right.
it's, so he's done well there. And so those guys are coming back. Of course, you can't speak highly enough of Bree Potts Metler now as a director of football operations. She is, if you need,
She
every
does
time you
everything at
guys,
school,
she
doesn't
does. And
Helps Coach
from-
Young out.
yeah, it's so she has been a huge piece of success for us that nobody ever hears about.
Right.
New guys coming in, defensive line. You've got Buck Curtis is coming back. He played linebacker for me my first year here, so he's coming back to us, coach defensive line. And then you've got Ryan Hornberger is taking over corners and is doing our special teams. He actually was a special teams specialist at Louisiana Monroe.
He played here at Sheffield.
Yes, he did. It's actually Trey's brother-in-law. Had another one of those guys floating around. I had no idea. So
Very good athlete.
you've got and so then you've got Adrian Keeley taking over offensive line and is our head wrestling coach. The new girls head wrestling coach that we just hired, Dario Rudis, is now our wide receivers coach. So we have you like that. We've got two wrestling coaches in the program, so
Great.
that'll help us out through our off season as well. So and I pray that I am not forgetting somebody. I think that's it.
Well, I threw you on the spot. But
You did.
you got a
It's all good.
sound like you've got a lot of
So
now.
we're starting to look like a 5A coaching staff.
Okay,
That's
that
the
was
key.
gonna
So
you kids practice wise. You practice two
So-
platoons or one
well,
platoon one way? Or?
we so basically we split practice between varsity and JV freshmen. So when our dedicated offensive staff is working varsity ball, the dedicated defensive staff is going down to take care of the JV and freshmen. So we do all of our individual skills together, and then we break apart for group and team type stuff. So all those young guys are getting varsity level coaching at their positions as they go down there. And then, of course, when we flip the script in practice, the other group goes down. So it's a seamless transition from freshman all the way. And then, of course, last week you guys mentioned Harris, and I'll say Liberty. Both of them, David and Zeke, as head coaches down there, have been part of what we've been doing through June and July. So they're fully on board. Zeke's implementing quite a bit of what we do at Liberty. So it's those kids that we get from Liberty that don't choose to go to Unionville, they'll know what's going on a lot better moving forward. So they've been out there helping us quite a bit. So
that's great the way you're doing your practices, because your Harris teams have been good, and your freshmen are getting varsity level coaching, and that's going to show.
So, and it's now as far as platooning goes, we're a little bit different structure, especially early on through August and September when it's hot. If you're an offensive line starter, you will not start on the defensive line or on defense anywhere. If you are a defensive skill starter, you will rotate on offense. So your early on, for instance, your Robert's slated right now to start at will linebacker. Rocky is at outside linebacker. They'll rotate just like they did last year. William and LeBron, unless situationally we need to have them both on the field, they'll rotate on offense early on. That way they're not getting gassed by the fourth quarter. And we've got plenty of guys that can fill those roles,
and that's big early. That's big early.
Now, as it cools off and we start getting into, region and playoff play, then we'll assess and see where we're at and go from there. So early on, it's a big deal for us to be able to do that. We do have the numbers to be able to make sure.
Coach, you mentioned 8 running backs. Go over that. You got 8 of them, really?
Well, I say 8. It could be 6. It could be 9. I lose track of them sometimes. Of course, you got Rocky and Robert. I mean, they speak for themselves. Of course, Rocky's committed to middle, and then Robert had a great camp circuit in June. He hit multiple FCS D1 mid-major type schools, and he's just going to get better. So you've got those two. Nate Zimmerman is in that running back room, and he is I love how he runs. He runs hard, and he's deceptively fast on the field. You've got Rager Edwards, who plays some H slot receiver for us, and so he's in there. We have a transfer that came to us from Riverdale last year that didn't play because he transferred late season, didn't have a chance to get him on the field. In Zion McLean, I believe is his last name. So he's learning the system, and then you've got Torion. The freshman that came up, and there's a couple other guys that are in that room as well right now that are developing. So we're, it's a good room, and Will does a great job with them. So it's a huge bonus for us to have him there. And he connects with them well. He's able to coach them not only on the field, but in those hard ways that nobody knows about. That's never been, behind a closed door with the kid, trying to get them straightened out. So he does a good job.
We're going to get wide receivers. Then I think we're going to take a break here from our sponsor, come back, and I want to talk defense for a minute and go over because there's one thing, as good as our offense was, our defense can rush you and get after it. And defensively, I want to really get to that. But let's go to wide receivers.
Okay.
You had some losses, a big loss.
We did. We losing an all-region type guy that ended up getting a full ride to a D2 school, a good D2 school. That's hard. I mean, replacing Micah 3 is hard. But just like trying to replace Logan McBee at linebacker, the overall group is better this year than last year. Not saying that last year's was bad. It's just that this year's group has more, so it's better. So you've got LeBron Ransom and William Bobo. Both of them had great Junes and early Julys. You've got Maddox Wright. Caden Cantrell, who played some quarterback, is also a slot receiver. We've got some guys that can get out there and play. Then, depending on how the quarterback situation plays out, you've either got Stephen Bobo that will play slot receiver some. You've got Mason Shavers who can go out and play wide receiver and do a great job. I mean, he caught a couple of balls on last Saturday that were. I mean, he played some well, ran good routes. He's tough. I mean, he might be the toughest kid on the team. So it's weird. We have options, and that's always nice to have options. So it's the wide receiver room is very, very talented, and they work their tails off.
There was a great big kid that played with Stephen Harris, and I remember great big tall.
Oh,
receiver.
Jay Whitelow. Yeah,
Is he still with the ball club?
He is.
Big tall kid.
Yeah, he's developed well. He'll be a solid wide receiver, but he is a potential outside linebacker that will. He's long, fast, plays hard, plays with passion. So he's developing still as a sophomore, still learning the game. You got Chandler Jones is a junior, kind of the same thing. He's still developing into his role, and right now we're playing him more like you would you'd almost classify him as a tight end because he's an inside receiver type more so than an outside receiver type, but he's got a tight end. He's got that next level tight end frame and skill set. So
he can block.
Yeah, he can. And so we're trying to figure out, is he going to be, where's he fit? How best can we utilize him? Now he can play X and Z, the wide receiver spots, but we feel like the way his body is built, he's much better at in that Y position where you can kind of block some guys out, create space with your hands, things like that. So it's coming. We look pretty solid out there at times.
We're going to take a quick break and hear from our sponsors. First Bank right here in Shelbyville and Kincaid
Service
Company right here in Shelbyville. We're going to take a break here from them. We're going to come back and talk Golden Eagle defense for a minute and go over some of the kids that you'll be seeing on Friday night. We'll be right back.
morning.
Service Company is a locally owned family business that has proudly served the Middle Tennessee area since 1934. We have a wide selection of furniture, appliances, electronics, and mattresses for every budget and design taste. We carry the brands that you know and trust, so you're sure to find exactly what you're looking for. Need financing? We have you covered. With our service department, you can rest assured that we will take care of you after the purchase. Visit our Shelbyville store at 400 Madison Street today.
Welcome back to Bedford County Sports Talk Live right here. I'm Bill Anderson, Coach Kenny Parker, and the main man, Judd Dryden's with us, and we're talking Golden Eagle football. And now we're going to move over and talk about some of the kids you'll see on defense. Let's start with outside linebacker, because if there's one thing that your ball club did well last year, it was rush the passer.
Yeah, we now I will say we'll start with outside linebackers, but our front three on our D line are the critical piece. They're the anchor of everything. But at outside linebacker, we've moved Rocky from the weak outside to the strong outside, and he's taken to that really well. He's played well in 7-on and man and zone coverages, and he's learning that spot about as well as you can. I mean, he's replacing Theo Washington, which is going to be tough, but he's got all the tools, and he's really taken to it. Weak side wise, at outside linebacker, you got Cohen Abernathy, who, he's going to be tough against the run. He's going to be tough situationally. And then with you've got Zion Bonner coming back to us, and
Zion's got a nice frame.
He does long length. He's aggressive. And then Jay Whitelow will get. And then on the other side of that, behind Rocky, you've got Chandler Jones as well. So we're outside linebacker. We look good right now. We're going to have our pick, which is always.
Well, you got depth too.
So,
you got a little bit of depth.
How many of you play two at a time? If you play
three? Two. Yep. So, and then defensive line wise, I mean, replacing Tarvis and Radon is hard. But rotationally and situationally, we feel like we can get where those guys were every down time kind of guys, no matter the situation. We'll be able to get guys in and out and be able to take advantage of them because we're deeper there this year than we were last year. Tyson Dunn comes back as a starter for us.
He gave you some big minutes last year. Big minutes, and made a couple big sacks.
Yep. And he looked good in the spring game.
Good.
And so it's so you've got Palmer Edwards that will play there, there as well as tight end. He's developed well since we've gotten out of baseball. He's really taken to what we've been doing in the strength conditioning aspect. You've got him. You've got Colton Clardy. You've got John Stanton. Goodness, I'm going to miss
Chandler Cates.
Yeah, Cates will rotate there. Blake Clay will rotate there. Everybody on the offensive line that we spoke of will have a chance.
Lake kid intrigued me. You mentioned that one. Took me by surprise. What'd you say he was 6'4"? What he was?
He's 6'4" plus. He's about 240 and a sophomore and moves well. So
what about the new kid playing D-line?
Turn time will play quite a bit on the D-line.
So he's more of a D-lineman, not a linebacker.
No, he's not a linebacker, but it depends on if he lands at center. It takes away from some of the snaps on the D-line. So it's all those guys are work in progress. As far as not athletically and playing ability, but where they're all going to plug and play and fit is the work in progress. We've got to get it figured out, and we'll be ready. I mean, there's no doubt about that. We'll be ready, but right now it's just like I said, figuring out.
Watching somebody 7-on-7, once you get those pads on, it's different.
Yeah, it is, and that'll really tell us a lot. And one kid that's really come along for us is Ellington, and D-line be a junior defensive lineman. He has really, really come along, and he looks like a player. He's developed into a frame that's he'll play. He's going to be one of those speed kind of guys on the D-line, so he'll be one that'll be tough to handle down there. So that's we're pretty excited about that group. Dave Buck and Coach Ransom have done a great job with them. Inside linebacker, I mean, Logan McBee is he's about as good as it gets, but Brody Lavorne has really embraced that role at Mike linebacker and taking it on. He's going to be just fine. And then bringing Robert Bailey into the mix at inside linebacker, along with Nate Zimmerman and Jackson Thiem, those two will be sophomores. They're developing well, so we're going to be probably a net gain at inside linebacker this year.
How much weight did Bailey put on this year? I heard he got a lot bigger.
He has. He's probably a good 15, pushing 20 pounds. So he's well over 200. And it looks good on him. I mean, he's not lost a step. He's gotten faster. He's gotten more explosive, even carrying the extra weight. So he's going to be tough. He's going to fill that those snaps last year at running back that Radon got in short yardage goal line. Those may fall to Rocky.
We're going to miss that.
So
we're going to miss Radon for that. On 3rd and 1, Radon would just go get it.
Yes, and I think that'll be Robert this year. Good. I really do. I think we're in a good situation there.
Defensive backs, you got plenty of them too, don't you?
There's a couple. We're still looking for a corner. Micah Threet's going to be hard to replace a corner, and again, we may be looking for a safety depending on what happens at the quarterback spot. Now, if Steven ends up at quarterback, he'll still play situationally in the defensive backfield. None of our guys are static starters. None of them will just be straight one way. But quarterback's got to come off the field and get coached up. And so as soon as he's coached up, then, we'll.
I would assume at the top of the food chain at DB are your two wide receivers, LeBron and Williams. That's probably the top two.
LeBron is going to be potentially one of the best corners in the region this year. Steven will be one of the best safeties without a doubt. So they're both, and they've developed well. I mean, of course, LeBron was part of a 4x1 state. I think they placed 8th in the 4x1 in state this last year. So in large school divisions, that's fast. That's flying. And then of course William. If I remember correctly, he went to Western Kentucky camp and ran a 4.53. So that's in a 35-inch vertical jump. So that's athletic. I mean, and he's smart. He's smart as they come. Shoot, that whole senior class is academically, they're as good as they are athletically. That was one of the things. We went to the Titans recruiting fair back in April, I guess, and it was funny. Coach, they're going to have the grades. The lowest GPA at that point that we had on the team was from our senior class of recruitable kids was a 2.98. Most of them were 3.3s or higher.
That's great.
So you can't from a class of 12 to 15 guys. Mm-hmm. You can't beat that. So we're going to be okay. Kicking game wise, Ben Betzberger coming off a soccer injury. His rehab, his PT's been going well. Surgery went well. But we may not see him early until he's ready to fully go, and we could end up with 3 different guys kicking.
Mm-hmm.
And he was getting recruited well too. So I believe that will continue for him. He's the kind of kid that will do everything he has to play and play well. And then his little brother Jonathan, younger brother, not little, younger brother Jonathan will be a sophomore for us. He also kicks, and then the Jackson Thiem, who actually ended up replacing Ben on the soccer team at goalie when he got hurt, kicks as well. So we may end up early with 3 different kickers based on situation and what's going on. One for kickoff, one for PATs, maybe one for field goal punter. So we'll see how it plays out.
Long snapping is still
Ian, and he looks pretty good. I mean, he's starting to press that threshold of the D1 snap time. So it's getting. I mean, he's worked at it.
The family.
It sure is in the family.
It's in the family.
And his, I'll tell you what, his 10-yard takeoff, post snap takeoff is as good as it gets. He's in the, we digitally time everything that we do. We don't hand time anything. He's got a 1.85 takeoff, 10-yard takeoff. So he could go somewhere.
And Shaver Snap did some long
He
snapping
did.
before
He did some, and it all depends on what happens with him. So I mean, there's some things that are still in flux for us. We're trying to figure out. The nice thing is, we're not trying to force anything. It's just gonna all fall into place. We just have to give it time and evaluate it correctly.
Mm-hmm. We need to wrap this thing up, but we do need to hear from our sponsors one more time. We'll come back and wrap it up for sure. But let's hear from Kincaid
Service
Company and First Bank right here in Shelbyville. Let's hear from them. We'll come back and we'll wrap things up with Coach Dryden.
Company is a locally owned family business that has proudly served the Middle Tennessee area since 1934. We have a wide selection of furniture, appliances, electronics, and mattresses for every budget and design taste. We carry the brands that you know and trust, so you're sure to find exactly what you're looking for. Need financing? We have you covered. With our service department, you can rest assured that we will take care of you after the purchase. Visit our Shelbyville store at 400 Madison Street today.
Welcome back to Bedford County Sports Live. I'm Bill Anderson, Kenny Parker, and Coach Judd Dryden. Coach, your coach's show will be coming up pretty soon, and we might or may not have a new place to do one of your shows. Tell me about this weight room.
Well, it's so we are as a athletic department, we're moving all. We're going to have one single weight room instead of football having one, and everybody else. We're going through what could be a $250,000 to $300,000 renovation in the weight room in the gym, and it could, and depending on how that works out, could be a little bit more than that. And we're in the process of hiring a full-time head strength coach that will work with all of our athletes, and he'll be he or she will be they'll have Division I college experience, carry all the certifications that the colleges have to force them to carry. We've been blessed without a doubt, and we are really looking forward to having that. But it's we'll be able to run 75, 80 kids to that weight room at a time in what will end up being a college level strength conditioning program, and that's something that very, very few high schools across state, private or public, can boast. So we're incredibly excited about that for all of our athletes. And let's put the AD hat on for a second. It's an incredible opportunity, and I don't know, it's one of those things we want to make, and I'm not ashamed to say it all. I'm proud to say that Gary Cooper and Cooper Steele want to make Central a shining star on the hill. I mean, that's what it is, and we're incredibly blessed that he is taken to us and done what he has. So it is
how's the scoreboard coming? We got to talk about that for a second.
Hey, it's up and running. We're trying to figure out how best to use it this year. Now that thing is it's amazing. I mean, it's something else. So you can do a lot with it. I mean, we could have a family night, show a movie on that thing.
Right.
So I mean, it's going to be pretty cool. You want to see me get tongue tied, you start talking about those improvements and all that, and I'm just like, I'm amazed to be amazed and blessed to be part of Central Athletics at this time with everything going on, and the way that all the coaches across the board, head coaches and assistant coaches, the way we're starting to gel as an athletics department has been amazing. So Big shout out to Chris Fritz becoming the new fall sports athletic director. So he'll be one for you guys to talk to some, and it'll be fun. It's going to be fun. It's going to be exciting.
Hit me a little bit about your administration, Coach Pope, Coach McCullough. How do you put up with those guys? Come on now.
Let's see. Coach Pope constantly calls himself a Unionville redneck. That's his words, not mine.
Okay.
So there's that.
10-4.
He is. I mean, he's great. I mean,
Great
anytime a head football coach gets an athletic minded principal that wants championship processes in place across the board, you are. I mean, it's awesome, and it goes all the way to the top. I mean, Dr. Garrett has been incredibly supportive of us and everything we've done. So it comes from the top down, all the way through, and it's the kind of support we've gotten from your brother as a county AD. That's been a big deal, and so it goes all the way down. Then you've got Coach McCullough. There is nobody that I have met in this community that loves Shelbyville Central athletics more so than D. McCullough.
I think he may believe blue and gold.
He very well may. It just depends on which vein you open up.
Right.
Whether it's blue or gold, and he is taking on a new role and is liaising between us and the projects with the 12 for 12 program, the elementary school reading and outreach programs going on. He's doing a lot of that to oversee, making sure, kind of the checks and balance that we're doing the right things with our kids going out to the schools and all that, which has been pretty cool. Then you've got Kane Gilliland, band director. He and I got along well when he was the band director. Now we get along even better that he's an assistant principal there. It's been great. Chris Fritz has taken over the dean of students and co-athletic director. So he and I have always gotten along well. We share athletes well. I mean, so it's, he's got a couple of guys on the soccer team I wish I could get out. And not just as kickers, just wide receivers and guys like that. I mean, he's got some tough guys on that soccer team. And then, I just completely
we
lost.
talk about chemistry in the locker room as your athlete. Sounds like you got chemistry in the build
across the board. It sounds like we are the culture of Central and the culture of the athletics department are rising on the same tide, and so that's a huge plus for us.
As we wrap up,
let's talk about the scrimmages. I guess we got the first one at Page on the 2nd of August for everybody to look forward to, and then you said Rockville at our place on August the 9th.
8th.
And then 8. Okay,
8 o'clock, 8 p.m.
August the 8th.
It's August 8th.
August the 8th at 6 p.m.
All the scrimmages are at 6.
All the scrimmages are at 6, and August the 8th at
That's just
Central.
Kind of a crazy question I got. Wouldn't it? When it's hot in August and you got a scrimmage, have you ever thought about starting it at 8 when it was cooler or not? Or you just want to get used to the heat?
Well,
make my kids get used to the heat.
Well, get used to it, and then scrimmages generally take 90 minutes to 2 hours. So it's you get them in, get them out, get them back home. If you're traveling, you get home a little bit that much earlier. So it's just a way to get up and get going. Usually,
it's not like playing a game at 6, a real game.
Yeah. Usually by about 6, the heat index is down enough that you don't have to consider it quite as much. Now we go to Page; they're on turf, so it's gonna be extra hot up there, but it'll be all right. It's good for us to have to play in that and work through it. I mean, it's its own mental game as well. So
sounds like going good.
It does.
Things are progressing.
Football. It's here.
It's about time. As soon as we put shoulder pads on, it'll feel like football.
It won't be long. We'll have that coaches show going. I'll go start that up somewhere around these scrimmages and talk about each one if you don't mind.
Y'all just let me know. I'm down for it anytime. Anytime we can talk about my guys, my staff.
Absolutely. We'll get that booked up. Be back here. Hey, next week. Guess who we're going to have on?
We got community or
Coach Grooms, Coach Edie. We'll have them on next week.
Sounds like a Viking kind of day.
I'm going to have to wear my purple.
What color? You going to be wearing purple?
I'm going to wear my purple.
All right.
Coach Grooms gave it to me. I'm going to wear it. That'll be next Saturday morning at 9 o'clock. We'll have the community show, and we'll talk a little bit about community football and how they're going to be this year. And like I said, guys, thank y'all for watching. I think last week, believe it or not, we had nearly 7,000 views from you guys, and we just cannot tell you how much we appreciate you watching.
For our initial show, we really do. That was overwhelming.
Overwhelming.
Appreciate you
and
guys.
Thank you, David Thomas, because if it wasn't for you, we couldn't get any of this out.
Agree.
On a whole bunch of things, not to mention sports, and we really do appreciate it. And thank you, Kincaid.
Service
company right here in Shelbyville, and Brent Kennedy and First Bank. Shelbyville Now wouldn't be Shelbyville Now without First Bank.
You can't get out of here without talking about Kincaid's.
No.
Because what is it about Kincaid's you
I
don't
believe
have
Coach
to do?
Coach will admit this. What is the best thing about? Do you like to haul stuff off, Coach?
I do not like to haul stuff off. Just ask the people I live with.
You call Kincaid's, they haul it off, they bring in new one. Or if it's broke, they'll fix it.
Hey, but it's a good thing about them. They bring a new one and trade it for an old one.
Absolutely. Mark and Eve Kincaid, stop down and see them. They got a great staff, good people, and great service at Kincaid Service Company right here in Shelbyville. Well, for Coach Dryden and Coach Kenny Parker, I'm Bill Anderson, and for David Thomas in the back, we'll see you next